Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Uzma Jafri. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 27th of May. Cyclone Yas leaves trail of destruction in eastern India. Taliban warns nearby nations against hosting US military after withdrawal. And Penpa Chring sworn in as president of Tibetan government in exile. And now for all the details. India's National Disaster Response Force on Thursday carried out relief operations in the aftermath of the cyclone Yas, which killed at least 5 people and left a trail of destruction along the country's eastern coast. The storm, the second to hit India in a week, comes at a time when the country is battling a deadly second wave of coronavirus infections.
Members of India's National Disaster Response Force on Thursday cleared down trees and shopkeepers took stock of the damage in eastern India in the aftermath of the cyclone Yas, which left behind a trail of destruction. Hundreds of thousands of villages along with low-lying coast of eastern India in Odisha and West Bengal states and neighbouring Bangladesh were marooned by floodwaters in the aftermath of the powerful cyclone that killed at least 5 people in both countries. Cyclone Yas ripped through Orissa on Wednesday, packing gusts of up to 87 miles per hour and whipped up tidal surges in neighbouring West Bengal state and Bangladesh, even though they were not directly in its path.
यहाँ से भी काफ़ी तेज़ी से हवा निकला है, जिसका प्रभाव आप देख ही रहे कि जो नारियल के पेड़ या कुछ कच्चे पेड़ सहजन वगैरह के पेड़ थे वो गिर चुके हैं। उसको अब हम रेस्क्यू का काम कर रहे हैं और आगे भी और काफ़ी पेड़ गिरे, उसके लिए हम रेस्क्यू करने के लिए काम जारी रखें। और रोड वाला जो था रोड क्लियर हो चुका है।
Yas had weakened on Thursday to a deep depression as it drove inland over the Indian state of Jharkhand, resulting in incessant rainfall which affected normal life. The storm, the second to hit India in a week, comes at a time when the country is battling a deadly second wave of coronavirus infections that has stretched the healthcare system to its breaking point. India's COVID-19 tally surged to 27.37 million as of Thursday, with 315,235 deaths so far.
India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar on Wednesday said India cannot accept terrorism as any way legitimate as diplomacy, adding that bigger issues remain with Pakistan despite the two neighbouring countries reaching a ceasefire agreement in February this year. He made the remarks during his ongoing official visit to the United States.
India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar on Wednesday said India cannot accept terrorism as any way legitimate as diplomacy or unorthodox statecraft, adding that bigger issues remain with Pakistan despite the two neighbouring countries reaching a ceasefire agreement in February this year. Jaishankar, who is on an official visit to the United States, in a conversation with former US National Security Advisor General H.R. McMaster said that since 1947, part of the problem between India and Pakistan has been cross-border terrorism. He also said that India-US ties are one of the major relationships in the world, responding to a question on the trajectory of New Delhi's relations with Washington.
So the basis for not firing is very clear because the reason for firing is infiltration. So if there is no infiltration, there's obviously no reason to fire. That's a good step. But I think there are obviously bigger issues. At the end of the day, the two neighbors have to find ways.
India has long blamed Pakistan aids and infiltrates terrorists across the border to spread unrest in its Jammu and Kashmir region and uses them as proxy to mount attacks on Indian soil. Pakistan denies the charges. Jaishankar earlier on Tuesday met UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and was scheduled to meet US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to discuss a wide range of issues, including COVID-19 and efforts to strengthen Indo-Pacific cooperation through the Quad.
In news from Pakistan, Pakistan on Wednesday told the European Union that no armed or pressure group would be allowed to challenge and dictate the government policy weeks after a radical Islamist party held violent protests in the country demanding expulsion of French envoy over cartoon depictions of Islam's prophet, which Muslims consider blasphemous.
Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi on Wednesday told the Foreign Affairs Committee of the European Parliament that no armed or pressure group would be allowed to challenge and dictate the government policy. His remarks came weeks after Pakistan government signed an agreement to pass a resolution to expel the French envoy after being pressurized by radical Islamist party TLP, the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, which held week-long violent protests in parts of Pakistan over cartoon depictions of Islam's prophet in France. Apparently, the protests, the resolution and Islamabad's quashing of all criminal cases against the group annoyed the EU, and its parliament expressed concern over Pakistan's blasphemy laws and passed a resolution to end GSP Plus status for Pakistan, which allows the country to sell its textile products at concessional tariffs.
We have firmly moved against the radical groups after the recent protests. I can assure you that no armed or pressure group is being allowed to challenge the writ of the state and dictate government policies.
Qureshi expressed disappointment over EU resolution on blasphemy laws and said freedom of expression could not be used to hurt religious feelings of others. He reaffirmed Pakistan's commitment towards effective implementation of GSP Plus related international conventions.
In news from Afghanistan, insurgent group Taliban has warned neighboring countries against allowing the United States to use their territory for operations in the country after they withdraw from Afghanistan, following media reports alleging that Pakistan had struck a deal with Washington.
The Afghan Taliban on Wednesday warned nearby nations against allowing the United States to use their territory for operations in the country after they withdraw from Afghanistan. As foreign forces withdraw troops by US President Joe Biden's announced deadline of September 11, experts and diplomats have speculated that Washington's future role in the region could include bases in nearby countries, especially Pakistan. Without specifying a country, the insurgent group said in a statement, if such a step is taken, then the responsibility for all the misfortunes and difficulties lies upon those who commit such mistakes. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby, on being asked about the development, told reporters on Wednesday that he couldn't confirm that that's the message that Taliban was sending.
I've seen reports of that. I can't confirm that that's in fact what a message that they're sending. What I can tell you is that we continue to support diplomatic efforts to explore opportunities in the region that would allow us to improve our over-the-horizon counterterrorism capabilities.
Earlier addressing the Pakistani Senate on Tuesday, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said the government of Prime Minister Imran Khan will never allow any American base on its soil. Meanwhile, fighting between the Taliban and Afghan forces has escalated sharply in Afghanistan since Washington announced its withdrawal decision. Many analysts have warned that the country could descend into civil war as efforts to secure a peace deal through talks in Doha have largely stalled.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan authorities have begun clearing of debris of the MV Express Pearl vessel which caught fire and is in distress off the coast of Colombo. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed the officials to pay special attention into minimizing damage to environment from burning vessel.
Sri Lanka's Marine Environment Protection Authorities, security forces and other responsible government entities have launched a comprehensive operation to mitigate the damage to the marine environment and coastline by the MV Express Pearl vessel which caught fire and is in distress off the coast of Colombo. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed the officials to pay special attention into minimizing the spread of oil around the vessel in the event of an oil spill while remaining vigilant about the prevailing adverse weather conditions. The MV Express Pearl, a container ship sailing with a Singaporean flag, was anchored off Colombo when a container caught fire last Friday. The vessel carrying nitric acid, chemicals and cosmetics was en route to the Colombo port from the Indian port Hazira. The Sri Lankan authorities had sought Indian Coast Guard's assistance towards firefighting operations, following which its vessels rushed to douse the fire on the container vessel on Wednesday.
Moving on. Penpa Tsering was on Thursday sworn in as president of the Central Tibetan Administration, the Tibetan government in exile based in India's northern Dharamshala town. Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, attended the swearing-in ceremony virtually and extended his greetings to the new president.
Penpa Tsering took oath as the new Sikyong or president of the 17th Parliament in Exile of Central Tibetan Administration of Exiled Tibetans on Thursday. Tsering was elected as the new leader of the exiled Tibetans living in India after the recently concluded election. He will be succeeding Lobsang Sangye. Tibetan spiritual leader the Dalai Lama welcomed the new president and praised the democratic process among the exiled Tibetans. 53-year-old Tsering said he will reach out to the Chinese government to find a mutually beneficial and non-violent solution to the Sino-Tibet conflict. China has ruled Tibet with an iron fist since communist troops marched in 1950. The Dalai Lama fled into exile in India in 1959 after an abortive uprising against Chinese rule and has since worked to draw global support for linguistic and cultural autonomy in his remote and mountainous homeland.
Amid the COVID-19 crisis, women from rural families in India's Jammu and Kashmir have come together to create a hand sanitizer and hand wash label in order to generate income under a government scheme to help the impoverished sections of the society.
As the pandemic rages in the country, women of Ladhu Pampor village in Pulwama district of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir territory have initiated a self-help group for branding and marketing hand sanitizers and hand wash to fight COVID and generate income under a government scheme. As part of the National Rural Livelihood Mission's Umeed scheme, poor women in rural areas are encouraged to create self-help groups. It focuses on promoting self-employment and organization of rural poor.
ये जो प्रोग्राम है ये इसका फोकस जो रहता है गरीबों को गरीबी से बाहर निकालना और गरीबों को एक साथ ऑर्गेनाइज करने के बाद एक अच्छा रास्ता दिखाना। अच्छे रास्ते के बाद वो अपना कामकाज स्टार्ट करते रहते हैं ताकि उनकी जो अर्निंग हो जाए और उनकी डे टू डे जो उनकी लाइफ है वो भी एक स्टेबल हो जाए।
As the requirement and demand for sanitizers and hand wash in the present environment has shot up, several women from the self-help group have started making and selling cleaning reagents in the markets to safeguard from coronavirus.
हमने बाहर से माल लाया और हमने यहाँ पैकिंग की। कोविड की वजह से ये बहुत सारे घरों में ज़रूरत पड़ती हैं। हमने टॉयलेट क्लीनर बोतल रखी हैं, यहाँ हैंड वॉश और सैनिटाइजर भी रखा क्योंकि ये घर घर में बहुत ज़रूरत है।
This government scheme Umeed, which means hope, has thus given fresh opportunities amid the COVID-19 pandemic to rural women as well as the poor, as they are now generating income for themselves and are also helping others.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.